Hello, everyone. I'm Alison Steinberg. Has anyone played any April Fool's Day jokes on you yet today? Well, traditionally, they're a lighthearted prank that leaves no victims. But in Biden's America, specifically California, the joke is on us. It's not lighthearted, and it leaves many victims in its wake. Starting today, most California fast food workers will earn the highest minimum wage across the U.S. restaurant industry. A new law requires that fast food chains with at least 60 locations nationwide pay workers at least $20 an hour. That means the state's 553,000 fast food workers will earn more than the state's $16 minimum wage for all other industries. But will they really? Because fast food chains are already making plans to mitigate the increased costs. California-based El Pollo Loco told investors it would begin automating some of its salsa making. And Jack in the Box is reportedly testing fryer robots and automated drink dispensers to rely on fewer employees. In December, two major Pizza Hut franchise operations announced they would be laying off all in-house delivery drivers as a result. On top of it, everyone will pay more for what was always a cheap food alternative. There's nothing funny about an $18 commie burger combo. Joining us now, Marine Corps veteran and congressional candidate for California's 39th District, David Serpa. David, thanks so much for being back with us. It's great to see you.
Alison, it's good to see you again. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, I guess if you're a fast food worker, you're now getting a huge raise. But April Fool's, right? Because many are actually probably about to get laid off. I mean, isn't it such communism that it's not all minimum wage workers, it's just fast food workers, but not all fast food workers, only those who work for chains with more than 60 locations. I mean, what is the strategy behind this cherry picking of minimum wage workers for the pay increase besides just pleasing the unions?
Sure. Well, I really do understand where they're coming from with, limiting it to having less than 60 stores, because I think that what it does is it sets up the war between the franchise owners and Wall Street. And, ultimately, that's what a lot of people have been talking about, is the way that wealth is bled from our communities. And when you look at McDonald's, I mean, me and my family, we skip McDonald's, $18 for a combo. This used to be the food of the working class when I was growing up. And what inevitably ends up happening is the people that feel the pain are the employees and the consumers. But what needs to happen is we need to start inflicting pain on the organizations that own these companies. And the company that owns McDonald's, it's Vanguard, 9.3% of the ownership. BlackRock, 7% of the shares traded on Wall Street. You look at where the French fries are grown, and it's Bill Gates. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
And then all of these franchise fees are set up to bleed a community and bleed the franchise owner of their wealth. And so I'm looking at Target, which is owned by Blackstreet. And in fact, 4.83%, $3.5 billion, 32 million shares. I look at Walmart, which is owned by Blackstone, and it's $13.6 billion, or 3.6 shares, or 3.6%. You look at Amazon. They're the third largest owner of Amazon. They own $90 billion of Amazon, or 613 million shares. Same thing with Starbucks, 78 million shares, 6.62%. And so the thing is there is a war, and we're going to see it take place this summer, and it's going to make the summer of love look like the summer of love, because it's going to take place between the workers and Wall Street. Just like Occupy Wall Street was talking about years ago, and we mocked them and told them to cut their hair and to get a job. And then the Tea Party comes along and they talk about very similar things, the way that we're losing ownership of Main Street. And so I think that what ultimately will end up happening is we will see a lot of these companies, consolidate to where franchise owners will be bled out, and then that wealth will be consolidated. And then in addition to that, you'll see some of these companies go under, and then maybe a resurgence to Main Street, where we'll start seeing local companies that are owned and operated, getting their produce from local farms coming back. And I don't think that that would necessarily be a bad thing.
No, I don't think so either. I think that would be fantastic, actually. So perhaps this is what ultimately needs to happen for our own health and welfare, right? I mean, most of these places participating in this nonsense are just places you'd probably want to avoid anyway. I mean, we talk in length about the negative repercussions of eating at many of these places on this show here. But yeah, the bottom line is I think the timing of this is all really interesting. I mean, Americans are just getting crushed as it is with Bidenflation, and Biden is getting killed in the polls over Bidenomics too. So a combo meal is now going to cost more than a steak. It really just is incredible. But another interesting aspect of the story is Panera. They have more than 60 locations, but were given an exemption because, I don't know, bread or something. We know it's because they're buddies with Greasy Gavin Newsom. And after the backlash, they're now saying they will go with the increase too. So that's interesting there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's because they got caught. And
Yeah.
that's what happens a lot of times. They got caught. And when Governor Newsom was called out on this, he was quoted as saying, "This is how the sausage is made." And I think it's kind of ironic when we're talking about this because it only excludes people that make bread on site. And so, and when you follow the money, which is what I do with everything, which is what we did in the last segment, right? You follow the money and you look at the $220,000 in campaign donations that was made to Governor Newsom in the last year. And Greasy Gavin takes a lot of his orders from his owners. And, you know, and I think that it's very interesting to watch. But the thing is the Republicans have caught on to it. And we're looking at a lot of this stuff. And, you know, Laura Trump, who is the head of the RNC now, she's saying, hey, listen, the Republican Party is no longer the party that is against unions. You saw for the first time, Teamsters donated $40,000 to the Republican National Committee. And so the Republican Party is seeing a shift where we're seeing, just like how we have to keep this country in check from within, unions have to be checked from within. And so Governor Newsom got exposed, just like he gets exposed again and again and again. But that's why we have to keep him where he is, which is sitting in his dirty diaper.
I like that. I'm with you there. Definitely a good call. While we're talking about Newsom, I have to ask you, there's rumblings about another recall for him. Rescue California is now trying to get another one going, even though the last one failed. What are your thoughts, David? Is this going to be a successful run this time around, or is it just another lost cause?
So Mike Netter, who organized the last recall effort, spoke at my birthday event a couple of weeks ago, and then we spoke again at another event. I love the guy. He's full of passion and he's full of energy, but he's not heading this effort up. And what I look at is I look at the fact that it lost by over 20% in the last election cycle. And what we need to do is we need to stop focusing on saving a state. You look at it as, oh, she don't want to be saved, right? It's like that one song, she don't want to be saved. And I look at the state that doesn't want to be saved, but there are counties and districts that desperately want to be saved, and they need saving and they need organizing. So what I want to do is I want to pull the focus from this statewide effort, which is going to fail, unfortunately, to focusing on assembly districts, Senate districts, congressional districts, school board races that can be flipped. And that's where you win a state, by showing people what the alternative party platform is and what the alternative party can do in the state of California by taking back these cities, taking back the localities, taking back the counties. And that's where I want to see the money and the effort and the grassroots spent. And I'm organizing my own effort called Make California Great Again 2024. And we're trying to organize specifically in Riverside County, but organizing San Bernardino County and Imperial County. We're having our first event on May 10th at the farm in Norco. And all of these rallies are going to be rallying around the Republican nominees, less infighting. Let's take a page from the Democratic Party playbook. Let's get out and let's beat them at their own game. Let's ballot harvest. You know, just like, you know, Pressler is talking about doing. I want to get in the grassroots, activate them, do the hard work now. They might be able to beat us monetarily, but we could beat them militarily. We could beat them in the trenches, and by focusing our efforts where we can win.
Yeah, I think that's such a great plan, and it's so necessary because, as you just mentioned, there are many cities in California. I know, it's gotten the name California, but the whole state isn't totally corrupt. There's still hope here in many cities, many counties, and I think that there's a lot of work that it definitely needs to be done. Hopefully, we see some success there. So thank you for the action you're taking in that regard. But obviously, Newsom, is doing everything he can to try to get ahead of this potential recall. He's now touting the fentanyl seizures as evidence that he's doing his job, and the issue is actually Republicans. But I'm sorry, Mr. Newsom, I would love to argue that the issue is actually the orchestrated invasion here. What do you make of Newsom's response to this?
Well, again, Governor Newsom likes to pretend like he's not the governor of a border state whenever it's inconvenient.
Right.
And you look at Governor Abbott doing everything that he can to secure his state for the sake of his people. And the fact that Governor Newsom has been found lost on the job again. And he takes one win. And listen, every time that you remove fentanyl from the streets, that's a great thing. But the fact is he has failed for so long that fentanyl is now the #1 killer of men in my age group, 18 to 45 years old. We lose over 100,000 people a year to fentanyl. And I'm out door knocking in my community. And in one of the communities that I was door knocking, there were 2 different mothers that I talked to that lost their adult children to fentanyl overdoses. This is a real thing. And he wants a cookie for doing one thing. There's already been so much fentanyl trafficked into the United States that it could kill every person in the United States 10 times over. And in addition to that, drug trafficking leads to human trafficking, which the left perpetually likes to laugh at and scoff at and act like it's not happening. But when I talk to the people that are actually down at the border, Pastor Rudy Gonzalez of Serpa Ministries, Jonathan Alexander, who's out doing everything he can down there on the border of Arizona. These are the people that are in the fight, and they're telling me the same thing, that drug trafficking leads to human trafficking, and that we need to get our borders in control. And at this point, it is by design, and it's happened so much now that homeowners are having to deal with it. And now they said that immigrants, they're allowed to have a Second Amendment right. So what you're going to have is you're going to have home squatters, immigrants coming in squatting, who were misinformed, told that they could come in and occupy a house and then sell it for cash, right? We all saw that viral clip. And then what's going to happen from there is they're going to arm themselves. They're going to set in, and then we're going to have violent altercations between either the public who are trying to solve the issue themselves, or through our law enforcement officers who we should be empowering more law enforcement officers in times like this to help us get control. But instead, we want to install cameras in our cities in order to do the job for us. We want to systematize it. We want artificial intelligence to do everything.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's headed, and it's an absolute recipe for disaster so long as we continue to allow this the way that it's going. Very scary stuff, but let's pray that we can make some much needed change. David, Serpa, thank you so much for all that you're doing to try to combat this, and thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Allison.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.